With over $4 billion in annual transaction volume, 8,500 sides, 800 agents, Jason Mitchell is leading one of the largest real estate mega teams in the country, according to RealTrends Verified. In this episode of the Powerhouse Podcast, Jason shares with me how he's built this phenomenal brokerage and what makes his team structure unique. Jason exercises a very unique B2B strategy, working directly with mortgage lenders and other lead sources to drive a ton of business into his brokerage and team that's helped his company really develop a unique edge and approach to growing in the real estate market. I hope you enjoy this episode with Jason Mitchell. Jason, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I feel like we're about to get into like an epic story of building arguably one of the most impressive real estate brokerages and mega teams in the country. Going through the RealTrends data, you guys did over $4 billion in volume last year. You're managing, I think it was 700 agents in 2023, but you're up to 800 now. Massive organization. So I'm thrilled to hear more about the entrepreneurial story and the leadership side about what you have built through Jason Mitchell Group. So give us a glimpse that we're recording this episode in July 2024. Give us a snapshot of the business that you built today.
Sure. So the origination story starts with, we're just very niche on what we do. We don't want to have 5,000 agents across the country. We need like 1,600. So call it, we're halfway there. And the reason that is because we lead by value when it comes to providing business opportunity to our agents. That's the referral team. So the team that receives referrals from a lot of the large corporations that we have. It's interesting because we took a team model, a team concept, and basically the brokerage itself is just a massive expansion team. We have some smaller teams within the brokerage that we don't count as network certified, which means they get referrals. But about 90% of our company is what we call on the network certified team, the JMG team. And it really stemmed from years and years ago, me as an individual agent, starting to get referrals from, which is still one of our largest partners out there and our longest partner, which was Rocket Mortgage. And as I started to receive these referrals, what happened was I started to understand that as long as we did a good job, I could create leverage by adding some buyer's agents that can work these referrals so long as they did a good job in servicing their consumer. And really what happened was I just took that concept and I said, look, I think there's something here. Consumers aren't coming to, I started in the business in 2002 as an intern at Pulte Homes. And in the 2002 to basically 2010, if you needed to buy a home or wanted to buy a home, you had to go to an agent. And that agent then connected you with their search portals, their lender, and they were first. Well, come Zillow and come the ability for online lenders to take pre-qualifications, what ended up happening was agents, and even now worse than then, agents aren't first at that. Consumers are going online and they're going to lenders first. And that's what I started to see was that we can't compete in terms of spend when you talk about Veterans United or Rocket or Zillow. Like no one can compete with that when it comes to an individual agent or a team or even a real estate brokerage. I mean, let's face it, most of these brokerages don't make money as it is, let alone going on a huge advertising campaign, right? So my thought was, I'm not going to fight it. I just want to try to partner with them. Because they needed services, they needed boots on the ground. And that's where it started from.
So were you like 15 years early on a trend that people are talking about today? Because it feels like even up to 2 years ago, people were talking about like our big audience on the mortgage side. The mortgage originators want to be connected to agents because there's still a feeling that agents are first to the consumer. And, Rocket clearly has had a view into consumer behavior for a while and has run a different funnel. And it doesn't seem like really until the last 2 years and, accelerated by the commissions lawsuit settlement that people really started talking about the first touch changing and like the originator potentially being closer to the consumer. So it feels like you're, telling a story that you started to sense 15 years before the market really got there.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a crystal ball, but the reality was the reality. And that was, if you can get a pre-qualified consumer not working with a real estate professional, these lenders need trusted agents to work with their consumers to provide them with a great experience. And when you take that from the lending side as well as the search side, nowadays you got to think about it. You guys know better than anybody. You can barely buy a quality real estate lead at this point. You have Zillow that has Flex. You have Ojo, you have Movado that has Ojo. Yep. You have Realtor that has OpCity. So those are the three largest right there, right? And so even from a search perspective, you can barely buy a real estate lead anymore. And so where do you get the business from? Because they all have their networks. Now, when you talk with the big lenders, they all have their trusted networks, and most of them are closed at this point. You can't even get into them. And so because we were early, and thankfully that we had some of the most trusted and largest organizations calling us a partner, my story was easier to tell that we can handle your account too. And now we have, over 80 partnerships across the country. Some are bigger than others. We have 12 really big partnerships that account for about 80% of our volume, but they're massive players in the space. And so they trust us because they know that we have the right systems in place to manage their business that they're sending us and providing a good client experience. And it's all universal. So when I started to expand, the theory was, whatever we do, like today, whatever we do in Seattle, we're doing the same thing in Miami. Whatever we're doing in Staten Island, we're doing the same thing in Detroit. Nothing's different. Everyone works off the same platform, same system, same operational protocols. The layers of hierarchy are the same. There's a division president for each part of the country. There's a broker in every state. And then, so that's sales. So you got sales, leadership, broker. And then on the ops side, you have our internal operations team, which consists of your typical segments of operation, which is marketing, processing, tech,
Yep.
So all those layers have a hierarchy to them as well. And so we got this thing down, but what's been really fun is that the partners that we work with, what they love about JMG is our scalability. So you make one phone call, you can touch all 800 agents with any messaging. So you don't have to go to an individual agent or an individual team to try to get new messaging across, or this client had a bad experience. Our scale now allows our partnerships to have a much easier approach to manage their own business of their referrals because JMG can manage it for them. And when your agents aren't, there's the difference about JMG is not only do we handle the distribution where we're receiving referrals from, we have credit union partners, lenders, all this stuff. But the most important factor is our agents know how to do this. They're trained, vetted. They know exactly what to do because that's what we teach them, that we teach them our way. And when your average agent closes an extra 22 deals a year, when you can give an agent that kind of business, because it's not just the 22 deals extra a year that our average agent does. That's our average agent. It's what business comes from that year over year. Because if I close an extra 22 families, they're certainly going to refer me their friends and family that I wouldn't have had in the past, which is all self-generated business. So it's the domino effect of being able to work with so many more consumers and not having to worry about an ad spend or where am I going to get my next lead from? When's my phone going to ring again? So we really bring a lot of value to the agents in that perspective.
So your agents, there's this strong funnel of purchase leads coming in from your B2B partners. So like that kicks off relationships, that drives business, but they still run the traditional agent playbook where once relationships are developed, they want to try to like capture listings and like be a partner for life and get referrals inside of that community. So it's not an exclusive like purchase business.
No, we want them to be successful.
Yep.
What we find actually, ironically, Clayton, what we find is that after about 2 years, we start to see our agents want to be backed off a little bit on their referral volumes because their sphere has grown so much and they get a higher percentage off that, which is great. We say, look, we want to try to serve up 8 to 10 quality opportunities a month.
Yep.
And when I say quality, our national closing ratio is around 20%. So every lead we distribute, we close around 20% of the time what those referrals are. Some partners are more. Our reload division is closer to 50%. Our lending division is upwards of 20+%. And then our search like Zillow and some of the others is in that 10% range. So the combined is around 20. But what happens is our agents start closing enough transactions to where that sphere starts to really kick in, the referrals from the client that you would have never had. And so they don't try. What they do is they slowly start backing down their referrals. So instead of taking 10 a month, maybe they're taking 5, because that sphere of influence has really started to pick up over the past couple of years of being with JMG. So then you have this healthy balance of my self-gen's doing really well, but if I need referral opportunities or want more, I have it here. And that's why our attrition rate's so low too. It's less than 6% because we're not greedy on self-gen. A lot of team leaders out there, I see their model and I shake my head, and no offense to team leaders listening to this, but if you're taking 50% on someone's self-gen business, they're going to leave you at some point. Like, I'm sorry, like I would never pay somebody 50% of business that I procured. And so we're very, very fair when it comes to our agents' self-gen book. We're at 80-20, and then they can hit President's Club and be at 85-15. So if you're only paying in 15% of the business you originate, but we can provide 20, 30 extra closings a year, it's a win-win. And that's why we don't, agents that are performing, we don't lose them.
So you mentioned that 20% close ratio on the lender business. Is that from like the lender perspective, from the partner perspective, is that good? Do they manage that metric, or is the lender assuming, hey, we're still going to close this loan, the consumer probably just shopped the agent around and went to somebody else? What does the lender care about in that scenario?
What the lender mostly cares about is that they have a trusted agent that is going to provide a great experience to that client. And what they look at is communication, because we're not everyone's only partner, right? All of my partners have other partners, and they should, because just because we're doing a great job in, say, Phoenix, that doesn't mean my team in Salt Lake is performing, right? And so like, it's a matter of your agent population and how good they are. And so we need to make sure that we're restacking our talent in markets where we may not have performance. So you have markets where we need more agents because we have too many referrals, so we need more coverage. And then we have markets where we have enough agents for the right coverage amount, so we got to go get more partners. And so there's always this fun. And then we have markets that we're not in that we want to get into, because we know that if we go into, say, Oklahoma City or Tulsa or, a lot of the markets, and we're not in a lot of markets, we're in a good amount, but we're not in every one of them. But we know that if we establish a great group of agents there, that our referral partners will trust us because they know we know how to manage to the expectation. So we've really, again, when you say pioneered this model, we absolutely pioneered the model of B2B when it comes to running brokerage as a B2B entity. But here's the thing. This is why I don't want to have 5,000 agents. I'm not trying to be KW or EXP or anybody. That's not our goal. Our goal is we want to have agents in the markets where we're driving in opportunity and we have enough agents to service those opportunities. And if we have that, we know that we can provide more value to the agents. If I'm giving you 10 referrals a month, good ones, you're going to be super happy and you're going to close more business than ever before. But if I only give you one, the value prop of being at JMG gets diminished. Yep. And so I'm always being cognizant that our value proposition isn't just our tech and our marketing abilities. Our value proposition is helping people grow their business. So we have to make sure that we're taking care of those that are doing a good job.
So do you have an enterprise sales team or someone that's helping you out and build more of these B2B relationships to keep the lead funnel coming? Or is that a responsibility you carry? Like how, I think did you say 80 different partners now that are feeding in?
Yeah. So we have tier 1, tier 2.
Yeah.
And we define that based on volumes, and every tier 1 partner has a direct account manager to it, along with an ops manager that oversees the account as well.
Okay.
So you have currently managing and maintaining your relationships, so you know where you stand, doing a good job. And we always want to lead with if we led our organization with just give me referrals, any partner can do that. We want to lead with thought. We want to be behind the scenes and help our partners grow and help them really try to maximize and be optimal when it comes to their opportunities that they have. And that's really a big part of what I do. I'm on the board of, I think, 9 of our partners and maybe 10, and I spend a lot of time with them. But you know what? The reality is the more time I'm dedicating to our partners, the more they know how much, number one, they can trust us, but number 2, that we're in it with them. We're not just having our hand out getting referrals. We want to do everything we can as an organization to be the best referral partner possible. And so I do a lot of that. That's part of my job.
Yeah.
So you have the current partners, but then you have biz dev. So you have getting other partnerships, which now that we've built a pretty solid resume, It's easier to attract good referral partners because they seek out us a lot of the times now. But when I was building it, it wasn't the case. I mean, it's hard. I remember the first expansion market I opened to was Tucson because I was in Phoenix, and I knew I could get some business down there. And so I went down there, and I had, at the time, I was partnered with Fidelity National Title, and I had a gentleman named Steve DeLabiaga who was in charge of Fidelity.
I know
He
Steve.
was helping. Yeah, great
Yeah.
guy, and he works with us. He's wonderful, and so he was helping me. And this is back in 2015 when we started to expand, 16, and he said, I'll line up interviews for you and you can select the agents. They'd love this. I went down to Tucson. I interviewed in 2 days. I interviewed probably about 20 agents. And remember, I'm telling a story. I'm like, look, if you join our group, we have these opportunities, but you got to prove it. You got to be accountable, but we can help you grow your business. I didn't hire a single one of them, not one. And I didn't hire one because even like you said, it's just kind of coming front of center now in the past 2 years. Agents back then to say, wait a minute, hold on. You're gonna give me business, but I gotta pay a referral fee and I gotta pay a split. What am I taking home? And I'm like, well, I don't know, around 42% of the gross. I'm not working for 42% of the gross. And my response was, yeah, but if you could do that 3 times a week, 30 times a year, and make an extra 170 grand a year, but grow your book of business exponentially, that's not, no, I wouldn't do that. Okay. So I was just shocked by what the market was bringing in terms of the response to the model. But I knew I had something because I built it in Phoenix, right? Like if I could build it in Phoenix, I could build it anywhere, but no one was receptive to it.
So you talked about how like sometimes there's agents that they want to be in like the team model and like receive all the leads for a few years, then they might kind of like break out and do like more self-facilitated business. Does that mean you need to attract an earlier career agent who's like or newer to the industry that wants that
It's such a great question.
Yeah.
It's such a great question. And a lot of this stuff too is, we've built the modeling of the perfect agent with a lot of our partnerships because we know the perfect model for the agent. And also just because you're good at reload doesn't mean you'd be good at Zillow Flex, right? And so it actually becomes by sourcing too now, but the right avatar of an agent. We don't want an individual agent doing $50 million a year in their own production. And the reason that is because now if they get there with us, great. That's awesome. But in terms of us recruiting that agent, if you're doing $50 million a year in production, if we send you a $300,000 referral that you got to pay 35% referral fee on and then a 50-50 split, you're going to say, I don't want it. And to us, you can't reject. Our golden rule internally is every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses. We stole it from somebody, but it's a great model.
Terrible
but the reality,
home buyer experience, terrible partner experience. Like it just can't happen. It can't be rejected.
Well, look, you're going to get good with the bad. What we always find in our markets is the median price always plays out. You might get a $200,000 referral, but you're going to get a 6 and a 7 too. And when you combine them all, it always works to the average purchase price in the market center because we serve the blue collar people of America. We're not a luxury brand and we're not a luxury broker. We work with big box, a lot of lenders. I don't say big box, is probably the wrong word, but lenders that are your typical conventional lenders, FHA, VA, of course. Veterans United is actually our largest partner today. So we're servicing the average American. And so the reality is that if you're not willing to take a $200,000 referral because you don't think you're going to make enough money, you're not the right agent for us because we got to service everybody. It doesn't matter who they are. They need to be serviced at the highest level. So the avatar of the right agent is somebody that's been in the business for a couple years. It's probably doing, 3 to 4 to 5 million, but they want to get to 20 million fast. That's where we excel, is we take the $5 million agent and get them to 30 within 2 years. We take the $10 million agent and we get them to 30 within 2 years. It's really, because what happens is then now they got a much bigger book of business so they can grow that self-gen business, but they still don't leave JMG because they still like to feed from the well, right? When they need to. So there's a lot of learning that came with this too. I mean, a lot of it to understand it, but yeah, I think we got it down at this point.
So there's all these assumptions in real estate. People, you start out on purchase, move to doing listings, start out doing the average, ultimately get to luxury. And how do you train, motivate, retain agents that want to build their career serving that median home buyer?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a funny analogy. My buddy, he's a professional bowler, and he always used this theory in life, and it's true. It's pick up your spares and strikes will come. And that's the same reality when it comes to real estate. So as you know, when I was in production, I was the number one real estate agent in the state of Arizona for many years. I think from 2015 to 2018, and then I stepped away from production. And so what I can tell you is when I left the field, I was what people would consider a luxury agent. I had a lot of luxury clients, I had luxury builders, but that I worked my way into that. And that's not always, by the way, that's not always the niche. Everyone wants to do that. Remember, there's a lot fewer transactions too. So what I will tell you is the more people that you service, the more opportunities you'll have with the demographic of the buyer you're working with. So your $300,000 and $400,000 and $500,000 client, when you work with them, they're going to refer you friends and family. Some of them might be $800,000 to $1 million clients. Some of them might not be. But the ones that you get now, because what usually happens in life, if you buy a $2 million home or a $3 million home, odds are your friends also have $2 and $3 million homes. Yep. Like, no offense, but very rarely do people that have a $3, $4, $5 million home have a bunch of friends that have a $100,000 home. It's just what we call demographics of life. It is what it is. But the reality is as you start plucking away and closing more and more and more deals, you start to get more at bats with I don't want to say better, that's not the word, but you start to work your way into luxury, because every now and then you're going to get a referral from somebody that would be considered a luxury client. And if you do a good job for them, they'll refer you to their luxury friends.
Yep.
But it comes over time. And I tell agents this all the time. I say, if you have not closed $1 million transaction and you're sitting in open house at a $5 million listing, why are you doing that? You don't think that people that walk through that home can sniff that out, that you have no business selling? Like, luxury is something that happens over time. It's not something you create.
I don't know if I'm going to offend anybody on this, but I'll tell you a little, like, we were talking in advance before we went on air about, some of the trials and tribulations of running the RealTrends Verified. So the rankings program, we had an agent this year, really high producer, but median sale size of like 389, 400,000. That agent lost their mind that that median sales price was publicly available on the internet now, because in their market they define themselves as a luxury agent,
and you know what why
was spending all their time trying to get 7-figure listings, but the data showed the bread and butter wasn't 7-figure listings.
And why fight that? Like, I created my niche in Scottsdale, servicing a community called Scottsdale Ranch and McCormick Ranch. And there's just a lot of homes in there. And the average price at that time was around $500,000. And you know what? I just busted my ass and worked so hard. I did open houses religiously, 5 days a week. And eventually what ended up happening was I became the guy in those two communities. And I'm happy selling a $500,000, $600,000 home, making 2.5%, 3%, and doing that 5, 6, 7, 8 times a month. It was wonderful. But what happened was, those homeowners referred me to some of their friends and family who ended up being higher echelon homeowners. I worked with them. But the reality is this: you service everybody, because you never know when that next referral is going to come and who they do know. But the problem agents make is they want to I never had a luxury business card. You know why? Because or even on my signature, my average sales price was like 1.4, but I didn't want anyone to know that, because I even had friends. I had friends in 2016, 17 that bought homes from other people, and they were like, I just didn't want to bother you because I was only spending 400,000. Like, it creates that notion of even perception too, that it might not be worth their time to work with me. And you never want someone to feel that way. Yeah. And so, unless you're Josh and Matt Altman in Cali, right? Like, with a massive niche carve out, or some of these fewer, smaller market centers.
And living in a market where everything is, for close to the most part, luxury. So
correct. Correct. But the reality is that 98% of agents are servicing your typical consumer. And so don't fight that, embrace that, work with everybody you can. Every single part of a successful real estate agent falls on this.
All right,
the bigger Jason, your book of business, you win.
We know that in every stage in the market, there's going to be challenges for agents and for executives. So as you look toward your next leg of growth, getting from that 800 agents to 15 or 1600, said you're halfway there. What are the biggest challenges that you have ahead for yourself as an operator and executive?
Yeah, ours is growth by market centers. And so what we're highly focused on is we know we have great partners that will support our growth because they feel as though we do a good enough job. And we hope that is the case. But we need to enter more markets. And in order to enter more markets, you got to have good leaders. And so what we've identified as our model starting this year was we want to find team leaders and small broker owners that have 5, 10, 15, 20 agents in markets that we want to get to, because it helps us to go faster with a collective amount of agents instead of doing it one by one, because that doesn't do any good anymore. If you only have 2 agents in a market, you can't open up all the partners. So we're trying to grow through team leaders that want to bring more value to their agents and make more money by the business that we can bring them, and the same thing for small broker owners. And so in the markets that we're not established in, that's the biggest opportunity for us and for them, because we know that if we like take New Orleans or Baton Rouge, like if we open in those markets, I can get the business, we'll get the business, and we'll help your agents close more deals. Therefore, you make more money. We're happy. We're in the market, but it's really about market center growth at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then the tactic for that. So, like looking in the rearview mirror and looking forward. Like, has M&A been part of the strategy, or
yes?
Like, well, okay. So, is it like give it M&A, walkover, recruiting? Like, give us the playbook of how you get these done and bringing market leaders in.
Yeah. So for the individual agents, when we have established markets, which we have 150 established, call them MSAs. Some larger than others, of course. And we have room, we can hire those agents on if they qualify. To qualify, there is criteria. You can't be a new agent. You got to have production. But that's for the individual side. For the team leader and small broker owner side, we know as a team leader that if you're not driving business into your agents, eventually they're going to leave you, or your P&L just is hard right now. And broker owners even worse, especially the small ones, and as things get compressed, it's even worse. So we have our modeling to where as your agents come over, as long as they qualify, we get them through training, they start closing deals, you get an override on all the production that we bring to the table, in a very, very healthy split on the overall production. It always is more. It's always significantly better because we're not greedy. But what we also do is we allow them to have these shared services to better the P&L, because you don't need an accounting firm anymore. You don't need dues anymore. You don't need all these tech tools that you got. You don't need any of that anymore. You're going to plug into JMG. We're going to give you all that. We're going to give you all the best reporting. We're going to allow you to manage your team more effectively, or your brokerage more effectively, while we're all closing more deals collectively.
So like the kind of the succession planning, retiring broker might not be the best fit. You need the person who's going to come and run with you for a few years.
If they choose to. I mean, look, what we need is we want leaders, whether they're broker owners or team leaders. We want leaders to say, look, I got 10 agents, I got 15 agents. I need to find better value propositions for them. My training and coaching can only go so far, right? So where is the best value prop? And the best value prop is who can try to drive business into these agents so they can make more money, close more deals, have more clientele. And in the markets that JMG isn't in, and there's a lot of them, that's what we want to do. We will take a team leader, give them the juice that they need to not only be more effective with their agents, but to even grow that team even more. Because if you plug into JMG, we give you all the tool systems, but we're going to give you the ability to close more transactions.
Yep. Okay. So we understand your pain point looking forward is like bringing in leadership to open up new markets. What are the pain points that new agents or existing agents are going to face in the next few years? Like we've been through, like our analyst Logan Motashambi likes to call it, we're in year 3 of the home sales recession. We've gotten used to this higher for longer environment. As you look ahead and you think about the challenges your people are going to face, like what do agents need to prepare for and get ready for?
It's the race to the consumer, and it's really hard. I mean, this is one of the toughest. I don't say it is the toughest, because the toughest, if anyone's been in the business long enough, in 2009 and 2010, every home was listed for sale. No one was buying. No one could get finance. Like, you want to talk a tough market. There's no market, in my opinion, that compares to 2008 to 2011. That was impossible. And yet we still survived. So it's not that hard. But it is a tough market right now because of homeowner affordability. It's gotten very challenging. Mm-hmm. And so for agents that are trying to figure out how they're going to grow their business or getting into the business, you have to make partnership. And making partnership means not partnering with referral partners like I'm talking about. I'm talking about partnering with the teams and groups that have those relationships to help you, so they can help train you, so you can everything about this business is your book of business. You need to be more transactional. And with everything coming down the pipe here in August, if commissions get cut, which I believe they will a little bit, you just have to be more transactional, because if you're not transactional, then you're not going to make as much money. So swallow your pride in a sense and say, I will join a team. Or, you know what? I don't need to do this on my own. I'd love to partner with somebody to help them grow my lifestyle, grow my book of business. But you got to find the places that can provide you with business, because the consumer is getting more and more increasingly difficult to get to.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, so much talking about getting to consumer, we see so much content out there about being like activity on social media, and like being the mayor of your town, and talking about local housing market data. And I think people have finally learned that talking about the commission lawsuit is probably not the best social media tactic on consumer first outreach. But what does getting to the consumer first mean for your agents, especially the ones that are on the team and like part of this B2B lead flow?
Well, that's the best part, is that
it's being responsive and being awesome and taking the leads and closing the deals.
Yeah, because also, like, Clayton, if you call one of our, take a lending partner of ours, take Freedom Mortgage, and they're like, hey, we're going to connect you with one of the best agents in your market. You're going to have a great experience, and we're going to be backing you the whole way. You say, great, I'd love to talk to them. If you have a good initial call with that agent, you're in. And so the reality is because we get connected through the referrals of our partnerships that are saying we're great at what we do and you can trust them, it's not like these consumers are talking to 5 or 6 agents and comparing, because they had a great discussion with somebody that they now trust. So we're teeing up these, like, that's JMG, we're teeing up these opportunities for the relationships to start from the very beginning. Whereas if we didn't have those relationships and had to go find our own consumers, it's a lot harder.
It doesn't surprise me that you say Freedom as a sponsor. We had Stan Middleman on stage at the gathering this year, and like Stan lit the stage on fire. And the thing that the audience, everyone just really loved and latched onto was Stan's message around focus. And like in the mortgage industry, there's been like this, as volume's gone down, there's been like a flight to, we need more products. We need to be able to do everything for everybody. And like Stan was sending this message of like focus. You don't have to have every single lending product out there. You don't need to be a debt service coverage ratio lender and a construction lender and a reno lender and do this and do that. And like he was selling this message of focus. And I hear that same emphasis on focus coming from you as you.
Well, listen, it's true. And I know Mr. Middleman very well, and it's true. And in fact, we were just in Atlantic City, and they were kind enough to give us the Partner of the Year award. And you consider all the partners they have when you talk about all the different vendors is a big honor. So I know those guys really well. But his point is true, and I'll tell you, it is part of our organizational mindset of, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked to do a reality show, and I've said no. And it's because I don't want to lose my focus. I can't tell you how many people said, you need to set up a lending company. If I set up a lending company, what do you think my lending partners would say to that? No. Like, what if we do a luxury division at JMG? What if we do this? What if we do that? And it's, listen, we're going to stay super focused on servicing partners. We're going to do an amazing job for the partners that we have and the new ones that come on board, and servicing them and their clients. That's what we do best. That's what we're going to stay focused on, and that's how we're going to grow. And we've stayed relentlessly focused on how can we be the best partner in the country for these organizations. And if we stick with that plan, I think it'll play out well.
The reality TV show thing's funny. We just published a couple articles on Ryan Serhant's Owning Manhattan show, and they just shared with one of our reporters that their recruiting pipeline is up 400% in the last 2 weeks since the show aired. But the question is, and I don't think we got in this in the article, it'd be a great follow-up, is like, do those agents fit inside of the box? And like you talked about the persona of like the agent does well in your organization. Like, does that reality TV show funnel actually match the qualities or characteristics that you would want in your hires?
Listen, I was at a company called My Home Group when I was the number one agent in the state. I love My Home Group. They're great. No one knew who My Home Group was, especially then, right? They become one of the top, I think they are the number 1 or number 2 brokerage in the state of Arizona. So they've grown significantly. But I say this in the sense of, I don't care if you're at Sotheby's, Compass. I don't care where you're at. Serhant doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you're at. It matters is, do you work your butt off? because your broker should be able to contribute to help you grow your business. They should. But most of the brokers don't have the ability to give you business like we do. But you take that aside. It doesn't matter what brokerage you're at. Like, people look at the broker as the reason they're failing or succeeding. The reason you're failing or succeeding in this business is not because you're at Serhant, and it's not because you're at Compass. It's you. You're the reason you're failing or thriving. It is. So you can join Serhant. You can join any group you want. You're your own director of your business. And yes, there are brokerages out there that have what you would consider a better value prop. Like, if you want to sell luxury, I'd probably look at Compass over an EXP. Like, they're just better known for that, better branded for that. I'd rather be at Sotheby's if I wanted to sell luxury than be at probably Keller Williams per se. But the reality is, when you cut it all down, and I'm living proof, I was at a brokerage that no one even knew who the hell it was, and I was the number one agent in a state of 70,000 licensees because it was on me. And so stop looking at the broker as the reason of your failure or successes. That has nothing to do with it. You are. Find the broker that's the best fit for you is the key.
Jason, phenomenal conversation. That's a wrap for today. Loved learning more about your business and how you're building and what we can expect in the next few years.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you guys. And honestly, everything you guys do for us, allowing us to speak at your events and allowing us to get have a platform with you guys, it does mean a lot. So thank you.
Hey, we are here to support the full picture of the housing market, and it doesn't work without great engaged leaders from the industry who actually come and share their views and talk to our journalists and do podcasts. So hey, two-way street. Appreciate you, man.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Boom.